Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept mine. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
How are you, Mataji?
Very good, Mataji. How are you?
Great. You know, I think I'm starting, I don't want to jinx myself. I think I'm starting to pull out of it. This has been a very long thing. I'm feeling good. Yeah, today I feel good.
That's good.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. I hope it stays. If it just would stay now like this, I'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everything is fine. You know. Are you coming to the temple on Saturday? Subha. Oh, you're not involved at all, right? With the Moksha Yoga Center?
No, Mataji, I'm not.
Because he's going to have a meeting over there so that we can practice how to give the japa meditation, how to do all of these things. And I'm going to have to do it like it's a yoga class as opposed to the way I'm doing it on the phone. But that's fine, you know, to learn different ways, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So you will be meeting at that place?
I'm supposed to, yeah, there's two different times. I think 9:30 to 10:30, and then there's like from 2 to 3 or something like that. I'm thinking that maybe it would be better if I went to the early one, you know, while Ismail is home with the puppy, and then I'll come home after that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See how I'm feeling. That's my goal. I mean, I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how is your husband doing too?
My husband is okay, Mataji. He has a migraine because I think he is exerting himself because he has to grade all the exams.
Of course.
So he has a lot of work to finish in these 2 days.
Poor guy. He works so hard. I know he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does. Well, I wish him well. I'm sure he does well all the time, so it'll be great.
Mm-hmm. Whose turn is it to read today?
Mine.
Oh, maybe we could get started.
You think so already?
Yeah, of course. It's already 5:02. So we can start with the prayers and then we can have some extra time for discussion.
Okay, I can start then.
Mm-hmm.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Shakshuru Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Mayam Sadati Padantikam Panchakalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Narayanam Namaskritya, Sheva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Udirayet, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay, for all those on the call today, well, yesterday we went through the translations of chapter 10, and which is Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And today I'm going to be doing chapter 10, text 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now 1 and 2, I'm going to combine them, and I've got some things to read about them because there are no purports for text 1 or 2. Okay, all right, text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atra Sargo Visargascha Stanam Poshanam Uttaya Manvantaresh Shanukata Nirodo Muktir Ashraya. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, in the Srimad Bhagavatam there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of manus, the science of God, returning back home, back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum. And then I'll just go right on to text 2 and then come back. Text 2. Dashamasya Vishuddhi Artam Navanam Iha Lakshanam Parnayanti Mahatmana Shrutena Tena Chanjasa. Translation. To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages. Now, I think it was Premarasa who had gone to this section about the 10 divisions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and she just went to this first text and named them. Now I'm going to go into them in just a little bit more detail. I went to veda.krishna.com, 10 subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so I'll read from there to give us more of an idea of, exactly what these 10 different subject matters are. Now, in these 10 divisions, I was listening to one of the lectures actually, and one of the lectures was saying, these don't necessarily go in chronological order in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The subject matter is dispersed throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes, quite a bit in 1, 2, and 3, like the Sarga, which is the first division. It is described a lot in the first, second, and third cantos. However, you may find quite a few of these subjects or divisions throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. So once again, they're all important, and they're the only topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's nothing else. These are the 10 divisions. And like I said, coming from a Western perspective, I'm always thinking, oh, well, it must come in this order. It's chapter 1, 2, 3. No, nothing like that. Because even in the readings that we've done up to this point, in cantos 1 and 2, we have read quite a bit about the creation and subcreation and the planetary systems. So I think just about, most of these subjects, maybe I'm not sure about the change of manus, but quite a few of these topics, I would say, have already been discussed, and they'll continue to be discussed throughout the Bhagavatam. So that was something that was pointed out in the lecture. So I'm going to just go back and read what these are. And, on the second page, it says to isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm guessing that when the transcendence of the summum bonum is described, it's done in different ways. And we've actually read quite a few of these through inference, through direct explanation, and then different great sages explaining the summum bonum. Okay, so I'll go back to the 10 divisions. The first one is called Sarga. Now these are going to be explained a little bit. Now let me see. I just want to make sure I'm not repeating everything. No. All right, so the first one is called Sarga. So the elemental creation is called Sarga. Sarga is defined as follows. The elemental creation of 16 principles of matter, namely the 5 gross elements, the Panchabhutas, the 5 objects of sense perception, the Tanmatras, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the Gyanendriyas, and the mind is known as Sarga. Okay, the 5 gross elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The 5 objects of sensual perception are sound, form, taste, smell, and touch. And the 5 knowledge acquiring senses are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Together with the mind, these 16 principles are created by the first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu. Within these 16 principles, 8 other principles exist subtly, making there a total of 24 principles of material existence. So when I was reading this, I was trying to visualize it because this is not something I grew up with, or there's even this conception of how the universes were created, how life began, really. So we have to remember this is the beginning creation, and so I'm picturing Mahavishnu laying in that causal ocean, and within his skin and pores, all of these, everything actually exists within there. All of the, it's like the seeds of the cosmos, which is going to come about, and everything that's in that cosmos, everything. So when we're considering this, we remember that it is all because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that everything comes about. Now I'll talk about that in the third text a little bit more in more detail. But Mahavishnu, this is in the elemental creation. Now there is a secondary creation, which is the Visarga, and that is defined as the secondary creation by Brahma, carried out through the interaction of the 3 modes of nature, is known as Visarga. By manipulating the 16 original principles of material existence, and by the interaction of the 3 modes of material nature, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, Lord Brahma carries out a subsequent creation, more properly described as an assembling of universal ingredients. So first we have Mahavishnu. He's laying in the causal ocean. He's got all the seeds of all the universes, everything within, all of the gross elements. I think it's the 16 principles are created by the first Purusha incarnation. Okay, and then within those, 8 other principles exist more subtly. So there's a total of 24 principles of material existence. And then we have Visarga, which is the secondary creation. It's carried out by Brahma. And he interacts, or it's like a manipulation or an assembling of all the universal ingredients, and he makes the universe, right? He manipulates all the 16 principles, okay, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, all the elemental principles, the 16 principles of matter. And he carries out a subsequent creation, more properly described as an assembling of universal ingredients. So a lot went on there, and before of course, we found this out in the beginning of the second canto, that before he actually assembled the universal ingredients, he went through tremendous austerity, okay, before he could, because he didn't know before, oh, how am I going to do this? How is this possible? Okay, so I didn't realize, they call this first and secondary creation. So Sarga and Visarga. And also, and it was pointed out in one of the lectures actually, that Sarga and Visarga are repeated constantly throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, constantly talking about the elemental creation and then the secondary creation, mixed up and all over the place. It's just constant, the Sarga and the Visarga, the Sarga and the Visarga. It's very important. Now, the third division in the Bhagavatam, and of course, like I said, not in order. In fact, Sarga, they say, is in first, second, and third cantos. Visarga, I believe, is quite a bit described in the second, third, and fourth cantos. The Sthanam, or the planetary systems, are in the third canto, the seventh, and the eighth. And I may have missed a few in here. I tried to grab my pen, and I think I missed a couple. But I think it was 3, 7, and 8. All right. Sthanam is described as the true situation. Sthanam is the realm of Vaikuntha. The entire creation by the Lord is to enable the conditioned souls to satisfy their material desire, to lord over the material energy. As such, according to their desires, the Lord creates a suitable situation, sthanam, for them to dwell in. Within the universe, these situations can be divided into 14 main categories, known technically as bhuvanas, or planetary systems, and 8,400,000 subcategories, commonly known as species of life. From the topmost sthanam of Brahmaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma, down to the lowest sthanam of Patalaloka, all situations are destructible. In every situation, the conditioned living entity is conquered by birth and death. Only by attaining to our eternal constitutional situation in the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha can we conquer the birth and death of this material world. Thus, the true sthanam of the living entity is the realm of Vaikuntha. All other temporary situations within this material world cause one to become a victim of material suffering, simply shifting from one situation to the next. And this we've talked about repeatedly since we started the Bhagavatam. All of the, this entire material creation is temporary, and within not just this particular universe, but all the universes, we have many billions of planetary systems and 8,400,000 species of life, etc. But they're all destructible. Every single situation, all the way going from the topmost loka, okay, the Brahma Loka, to the bottom, the lowest, or Patala Loka, are all subject to destruction. This is the only place where our eternal constitutional situation is actually in the realm of Vaikuntha. Okay, so anything outside of that realm of Vaikuntha would cause one to become a victim of material suffering. So because we're going to keep shifting from one situation to the next, from one lifetime to another. So that's sthanam. Okay, and that, now pashanam, which is protection by the Lord, it is in every canto. So even though it's a division of the Bhagavatam, it's a division in terms of this category is an important category in the Bhagavatam. It repeats in every canto. It says pashanam is poshanam is described as follows: protection is the causeless mercy of the Lord. Pashanam can be defined in two ways according to the mentality of the living entity. For the conditioned souls, pashanam refers to material maintenance. It is the Lord who fulfills the desires of all living entities. quote, the supreme eternal among all eternals, the supremely conscious among all the conscious living entities. It is that supreme one among the many who fulfills the desires of all. Now, for the devotees of the Lord, Pashanam refers to the Lord's causeless mercy and protection. Protection from hunger is the lowest form of protection, which the Lord offers to the conditioned living entities. For the devotees, the Lord's protection is protection from the illusion of Maya. The Lord gives the devotee the strength to always remember him and engage in his devotional service. So the Lord is always giving his protection. This is Pashanam, or the fourth division. He gives it to all conscious living entities, and in different ways. He gives material maintenance. He fulfills the desires of all the living entities. But for the devotees, he gives causeless mercy and protection. And protection especially from the illusion of Maya, and the strength to remember him and engage in devotional service. Okay, and then the fifth division of the Bhagavatam is the Uttaya, which is the creative impetus. Now, Uttaya, oh, by the way, all of this I got from, oh, did I say that? I may not have, or I may have, but I'll repeat it again. It comes from veda.krishna.com. Yeah, okay. And Uttaya is defined as follows. The impetus for activity, Uttaya, is the desire for fruitive work. The conditioned soul forgets that the Lord is his eternal protector and maintainer, and thus an impetus for fruitive activity is manifested for one's self-maintenance. This desire for fruitive activity is the driving force behind all work within this material world. The karma vasanas are the accumulated residue of one's previous activities. Every material activity we perform creates a residual impression within our consciousness, which is carried with us life after life. The sum total of these impressions form our creative impetus to work. The true impetus of the living entity should be to go back to Godhead, to the supreme abode of Vaikuntha, and activities performed in that direction form the right path of work. So, in this fifth division, we're trying to change our activities from material to spiritual. And that's, taking our karma, working through our karma, and performing spiritual activities that will, maybe burn the karma, work through the karma, purify us so that we can become purified enough to go back to Godhead. And remember that our spiritual home is actually, or always was, Vaikuntha, and we should therefore be going back there. And that's the kind of work we should be performing. It's the right kind of work, or spiritual work. And then the sixth division of the Bhagavatam is Manvantara. I didn't pronounce this right, I don't think. Manvantara. Okay, and this discussion of the change of Manus is described in the 8th canto, the 9th canto, the 4th canto. I think there were more. I think I just didn't get them all down. But Sri Shukadev Goswami describes, says exactly where these all, occur in the Bhagavatam, these various divisions. The reign of the Manus, Manvantaras, are for establishing the eternal religious principles. Manu is the father of mankind, the progenitor, empowered to guide the human race toward self-realization. Manu provides revealed scriptures to mankind which regulate their activities in a manner that will be for their eternal welfare. When the living entities accept such a regulated path, the Lord provides them with all protection by which they may attain their constitutional situation in Vaikuntha. Thus, the desire to go back to Godhead and regulated activities performed to achieve that goal form the proper path of action. It's kind of, when I'm reading this, it just sounds to me very similar. 5 and 6 sound very similar to me for some reason. But anyway, now in the 7th division is called Isha Anukata, or the science of God. And it's defined this way. The science of God, Isha Anukata, describes the incarnations of the personality of Godhead and his different activities, together with the activities of his great devotees. The entire material creation is for the ultimate purpose of the living entity's salvation. When the conditioned living entities utilize the creation for secondary purposes, such as material fruitive activity, the Lord incarnates to reclaim these forgetful souls. The Lord directly delivers living entities by his divine appearance, as well as by its recorded history. The Supreme Lord is so potent that simply by hearing about his transcendental activities in his various incarnations, one becomes free from material bondage. Thus, the topics of the Lord and his devotees, which constitute the science of God, should be given respectful oral reception. And I think that's pretty obvious. So the science of God, if you hadn't told me what that meant, I couldn't have been too sure without the explanation that we should be hearing about the Lord, topics about the Lord, and all of his activities, and in his various different incarnations, his leelas, his entourage, etc. And we can become free just through hearing this these transcendental activities and topics of the Lord. And then the 8th division is called Nirodha, or the dissolution. Now, I don't see it in here. Well, back to Godhead. It says returning home, back to Godhead. So I'm gathering that's what this means. The merging of the living entity, along with his conditioned living tendency, with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu, is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation, or Nirodha. And this is found in cantos 5, 11, and 12. Well, I could see 11 and 12 because, this is the dissolution. As we have briefly mentioned before, the entire material creation offers two facilities to the living entities, the conditioned living entities. The living entities may either utilize it to fulfill their desire, to lord it over material nature, or they may utilize it to go back to Godhead, the spiritual abode of Vaikuntha. For the living entities who take advantage of the science of God as propagated by the Manus, and who develop a desire to act in such a regulated manner, the Lord provides them full protection from the material energy and resituates them in their proper situation in Vaikuntha. For the other living entities who choose to disregard the science of God, the Lord gives them an interim period of relief at the time of dissolution. This temporary period of relief is technically called Nirodha, or the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. All the living entities, along with their conditional tendencies, vasanas, merge into the body of Mahavishnu to await another creation and another opportunity to take up the science of God. Though the physical bodies are given up at this time, the subtle bodies, Shukshma Sariras, remain within the living entities along with their latent desires. This is indicated by the words Atmana Saha Shaktibi. So, unlike the other religions that exist on the planet, this is the one which gives us the opportunity to come back. Well, I know in Buddhism you get an opportunity to come back also to reincarnate. However, for different reasons. And we get this interim period of Nirodha and go back into the body of Mahavishnu, become recreated, and we take up another body. But everything that happened previous, in the previous lives, goes along with us when we go back into the body of Mahavishnu, so it doesn't get eliminated. So that's, all of our karma goes with us, in other words, good, bad, whatever it is. And the ninth division is called mukti, or liberation. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable growth and subtle material bodies. Those living entities who develop a desire to act for their ultimate welfare regulate their life according to the instructions of the Manus. Such living entities receive the mercy and protection of the Lord in the form of his divine activities and incarnations, either personally or in its literary form as the science of God. By hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities, these living entities are able to give up all external identification with the principles of material existence and its interaction. Such purified living entities develop their original spiritual bodies and are resituated in their constitutional position in Vaikuntha, the spiritual abode of the Lord. This is technically known as mukti, or liberation. The words hitpanyata rupam indicate that these living entities have become completely free from all material coverings, including the shukshma sarira and related vasanas. The word vayavastiti indicates the real and eternal sthanam of the living entity. Stitir Vaikuntha Vijaya. And then, of course, the last division of the Bhagavatam is called Ashraya, or the Supreme Shelter. The Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being, or the Supreme Soul, is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation, as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, he is the Supreme Shelter, the Absolute Truth. The individual person possessing different instruments of senses is called the Adhyatmic person, and the individual controlling deity of the senses is called Adidevik. The embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called the Adibhotic person. All three of the above-mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood, but the Supreme Being, who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter, is independent of all, and therefore he is the Supreme Shelter. So, it's very, very long. I'm not going to read all of it. It would take too long. But those basically describe the 10 subject matter topics that are brought up in Srimad Bhagavatam. And like I said, those are the only topics. Basically, those are the topics of the whole Bhagavatam. And of course, not in chronological order of any kind. And then it said, I just wanted to read, just give you a quick definition, which I found online, of the summum bonum. Okay, the summum bonum originally is a Latin expression which means the highest good, which was introduced by the Roman philosopher Cicero. Summum bonum is an end in itself, and at the same time containing all other goods. So we know that the summum bonum is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, so that's all I have on those two texts. The third text is, let's see, Bhutamatrendriya Diyam Janma Sarga Udarita Brahmano guna vaishamyad visharga purushas smritaha. And I did mention this already. The translation, the elementary creation, or the sarga, of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements, fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind is known as sarga. Whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga. Okay, so in order to explain, now this is the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In order to explain the 10 divisional symptoms of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 7 continuous verses. The first of these, under reference, pertains to the 16 elementary manifestations of earth, water, etc., with material ego composed of material intelligence and mind. The subsequent creation is a result of the reactions of the above-mentioned 16 energies of the first Purusha, the Mahavishnu incarnation of Govinda, as later explained by Brahma in his treatise Brahma Samhita 547 as follows. Now, I'll try to read it, and then I have the Brahma Samhita. It's just a very, very brief explanation. It says, Ya Karanar Nava Jale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanta Saroma Kupa Adara Shaktim Avalamba Bya Paramsva Murtim Govindam Adi Purasham Tam Aham Bhajami. Oh, I know this verse. I've chanted it, but at that moment it just didn't occur to me that I was chanting it. Okay, now in the text 47 of Brahma Samhita, it gives the translation. It says, I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with the all-accommodating potency and reposing in the causal ocean, with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, or the yoga nidra. And that is explained by Prabhupada in just a moment. Now, in the purport of this Brahma Samhita, it says, the subjective nature of Ananta, who has the form of the couch of Mahavishnu, is described. Ananta, the same who is the infinite couch on which Mahavishnu reposes, is a distinctive appearance of the divinity bearing the name of Shesha, having the subjective nature of the servant of Krishna. Boy, he's hard to understand. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, very difficult to comprehend. Okay, the first Purusha incarnation of Govinda, Lord Krishna, known as the Mahavishnu. So I believe we can, oh, okay. Goes into a yoga nidra mystic sleep, and the innumerable universes are situated in potency in each and every hair hole of his transcendental body. Hello? Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. So this again is referring to that to Sarga, or the elemental creation. And so the first Purusha incarnation is Govinda, and he's also known as Mahavishnu, and he's in a mystic sleep. He's in the causal ocean. And then all of those innumerable universes and everything within those universes is situated in potency inside in the hair hole, each and every hair hole of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. So it's not like that's, something, where did that all come from? It's all created. It all came originally from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, as mentioned in the previous verse, Shrutena, or with reference to the Vedic conclusions, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by manifestation of his particular energies. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature. This conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is, where am I? From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained here and before, the illusory conclusion is that creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is identical with the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is enlivened in contact with the internal potency. The parts and parcels of the internal potency, which react in contact with the external potency, are called the marginal potency or the living entities. Thus, the original creation is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Param Brahman, and the secondary creation, as a reactionary result of the original ingredients, is made by Brahma. Thus, the activities of the whole universe are started. And so, just to kind of, I've got a lot to read, so I'm not going to read all of this. But the point is that I was listening to one of the lectures, and it said that, scientists today, the material scientists today, believe they have this poor fund of knowledge because they believe that the creation is a byproduct or a product of material nature. So they're only looking at the visarga, or the secondary creation. They don't put the Lord as an element in there that came first, before the secondary creation. For them, for the material scientists, the visarga, or the secondary creation, is the creation. Okay? They completely exclude the fact that that the creation is made possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay? Then by the manifestation of his particular energies. So if we don't have this Vedic reference, it doesn't matter where we look. If we don't have this Vedic reference starting from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lies in that causal ocean, then one will come to the wrong conclusion that creation is a product of material nature. So, and that's, of course, an illusory conclusion. And so basically, if you're considering the non-Vedic conclusion, it's all material darkness before this material creation. Whereas the Vedic conclusion is that there was transcendental light, which came forth from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we have to remember that the internal potency of the Lord is the Lord. Okay, there's no distinction. The internal potency is the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is the Lord, but it's not enlivened unless it comes in contact with the internal potency of the Lord. And of course, the living entities are marginal. They are when the internal potency interacts or comes into contact with the external energy, we have the marginal potency or the living entities. And once again, the secondary creation, or the visarga, is actually a reactionary result of the original ingredients. Okay, and this secondary creation is made by Lord Brahma. So from there, all the activities of the universe get started. So it's I think, very interesting the way the materialists think, and they just don't see God in the picture at all. And there's some other things. I just wanted to give people time to talk, so I just might talk for 5 more minutes and then stop. I have some other readings that come from veda.krishna.com, again, about the creation and annihilation of the universe. I'm not going to read it. It's very long, so I'm not going to read it, but I'll read just a few parts of it. Let me get to it. Okay. The 9 kinds of creation, which comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, a lot of these, within this reading that I found, they are quoting Srimad Bhagavatam quite a bit. It says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, verses 15 through 29, the first creation is of the Mahatattva by Mahavishnu. In the first creation, the modes of nature mix and give rise to false ego. False ego, or identification of the body, along with the material ingredients, material knowledge and material activities arise. Sense perceptions are created from these, the sense perceptions are created, and from these, the material elements are generated. Sound, sky, touch, which is air, sight, fire, taste, which is water, smell, earth. The creation of knowledge and working capacity. So this is the first creation, okay? The modes of nature mix and give rise to false ego. The controlling deities become manifest by the interaction of the mode of goodness. The 6th creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity by which the master acts as a fool. The 7th creation is that of immovable living beings, plants and trees. The 8th creation brings into existence animal species comprising 28 groups. The 9th creation gives rise to the human beings, which belong to only one species. They are predominantly under the influence of passion. These last 3 creations, as well as the 10th creation, are called Vikrita creations, and they are different from the previous creations called Prakrita. Creation of Kumaras belongs to both. There is also 10th creation of demigods, who comprise 8 species. There are 2 sets of devas, primordial ones like Agni, Varuna, Vaya, etc., are born from the cosmic shell during the 5th stage of creation. Others are born from Brahma and his Rishi sons during the 9th stage. There is an example of yakshas who descend in different genealogical lines according to Mahabharata and Agni Purana. Some appeared at the same time as Brahma, from out of the shell of the universe. Some descended from Kasyapa and some from Pulastya. Oh, I mean, there's so much in here. It's just unbelievable. But it kind of helped me because for me, I always get very confused when I'm hearing about the creation. And, I've heard it several times, but for me, it's going to take a little bit of time to be able to sort that out in my head and be able to discuss it, intelligibly at least. It is quite involved. But anyway, I want to give time. There's 10 minutes left. I want to give time for some discussion about some of this. And that's all I have for today. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Govardhana Lila Mataji, for a very comprehensive discussion on the verses.
Wow, it's amazing. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. It's unbelievable that it's all in these books.
I mean, whoever compiled those summaries, I mean, they did a very fantastic job.
Oh, yeah. It says here, on the 10 subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam, says, originally from the newsletter Tattva Prakasha, Illuminations of Truth, issue 1.6. And then it says, those wishing to read Srimad Bhagavatam can visit blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's that. And then it doesn't give the person who actually wrote this in here for the creation and annihilation of the universe. But it really, to me, it's very, it spreads it out a little bit so that I can visualize it, because to just think about it for me and not be able to visualize it is very hard for me to explain. You know what I'm saying? For me, I've heard many people from India who can explain this very easily, but I was not trained this way, so I'm learning now. I'm just learning what is what. And, it even talks about in here that there's more than just the sarga and the visarga secondary. There's like other creations too. And, I'd have to go in here and find all of them. Let's see. In fact, I think I'm going to save this. It's so well written.
I just wanted to share that that when I hear all this and realize the vastness of the whole creation and the little bit of understanding that I have about like how like unlimited and how beyond comprehension is God's creation, then I just feel more humbled, like that how limited is my understanding and how limited is within my control too, like how much we realize that how little can we control, very limited things we can control apart from our desires. I guess there is not much we can control, because birth age or like old age and disease, they are all like out of our control. Even like circumstances are sometimes out of our control, and even like many reactions to those circumstances seem sometimes out of control. So basically, I think only our desires or a little bit in this temporary world is how limited we are. Is just what I get from the whole recitation. If anybody else wants to share.
That's very true. We are very, very, very limited in what we can act. But with the Lord, we can do many things. I mean, I think we are completely limited if we do not have Krishna in our lives. I mean, if we are serving the Lord, I think that almost anything can be possible within his jurisdiction. So, I mean, we can take something, we can take this earth. I mean, I think I can look at this life that we're given and see how limited it is, and yet say, wait a minute, if I dovetail all of this in the service of the Lord, it changes everything, because we can actually have our little Vaikuntha on earth when we place ourselves in the care of the Lord completely and become devoted to him. So I feel sometimes that if I'm feeling that helplessness, it's somehow I am lacking in my devotion, or in my surrender, because in that surrender, in the times that I have surrendered or felt I was really surrendering to the Lord, I have felt many good, wonderful things could have happened. Wonderful things. And so we're not, of course, we're never going to be God, but going from complete helplessness to, I'm empowered with the Lord's help is big. For me, at least, it has been a very big change in my spirituality. So, thank you, Ruchi Mataji.
Thank you, Govardhana Lila.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
No, Mataji, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say thank you, Govardhana Lila, for such a beautiful class. Wow, it was very well said, and the article that you found was just beautiful, and helped give a basis so that going into this chapter, we'll have some understanding of what's going on. I also wanted to say that, so Ruchi Mataji, yes, it just shows us how tiny we are in this whole realm in comparison to what Krishna, just think. He is maintaining, he's in charge of the creation and the maintenance, and it's just amazing. And yet, he's got so much that that's all riding on him, and yet he's in our hearts, and he guides us and directs us. And I like what you said. Like, the only thing we can change is our desires. And I was just thinking, yes, our desires are changeable, but like I was reading someplace that our desires, I think, unless I'm misunderstanding or recalling it incorrectly, our desires are a result of the samskaras that have been impressions that have been that all our experiences, cumulative experiences, create impressions, and these help create our desires. And so even though we these impressions, because we've lived so many lifetimes and we've had so many impressions that were the result of trying to please our own senses, it's kind of given that it's only the mercy of the Lord that we change this path, because these samskaras are feeding into our desires, and so it's only the mercy of the Lord, as well as our conscious decision, actually, to take these desires that are coming from all these things in our past that have kind of made us who we are now, that we're able, the Lord's mercy, and then the process that we're given, and our conscious decision, you know, and our faith. All those things are what's going to bring us to what Govardhana Lila said, which was so nicely said, about, you know, creating our own little Vaikuntha here in this material world. That's possible. I mean, everything is, as well as ourselves, it's, you know, everything's coming from the Lord. And so even this material, you know, this home of ours, or which is of the external energy, but if we use it in Krishna's service, it becomes a little Vaikuntha, because we're inviting the spiritual energy we're asking it to infuse and change this inert energy into spiritualized energy. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting how, like, everything that was said was so nicely said, and yeah, so informative. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Govardhana. I mean, Manasi Ganga Mataji, I don't know where I am. Thank you.
Govardhana Lila Mataji, thank you for the fantastic class. Like, it was so nice. Everything's so nice and detailedly explained. So it was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh.
And also Manasi Ganga Mataji, Ruchi Mataji for adding. Discussions are always nice because they kind of help to remember better. For me, that's what I have found, that when the discussions are good, then it helps to remember the words better. Actually, today, I don't know how many of you know Jai Balladev Prabhu. He's like the brother of Jai Jagannath Prabhu. Like, we both were talking today, and it was the same topic somehow. And he actually brought up a very nice point. He was sharing, it was the same thing, as if, like, we are so insignificant, because he was saying that the size of the soul is 1 by 10,000 part of a tip of hair. That is actually our size. That tiny we are, actually. And he was saying, giving this example, that if we are walking on the road, or we are walking inside our house, if we see a little tiny ant or a very tiny worm, are we going to go and ask the tiny ant, please give me your opinion? Even, like, it means nothing to us. Something is crawling on the room. Its opinion actually doesn't matter at all to us. Similarly, such is we are even smaller than the ant in comparison to the whole creation. We cannot even be seen. That's how tiny we are. But he's saying the kindness of Krishna is so very much, that despite our very, very tiny existence, he is giving it so much importance. That he values our relationship, he values us, he values what we are offering to him, and the gratitude, even if we little bit express to all the different resources that he has given us, he makes us his dear friend. That's how merciful Krishna is. Like, I really liked when he was sharing it, so I just thought that I will share with all of you.
Thank you so much, Prema Rasa.
Thank you, Mataji. It's somehow we feel that, oh, our opinion is not valued. Oh, this is me speaking. Nobody is hearing me. This is me. I'm telling this. But actually, in reality, we are very, very, very tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is Krishna in our heart is always observing and guiding us and there. So although we are so small, he invests himself in us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like you said. I mean, which is so nice. Like, we're insignificant, but he gives significance to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of him. Actually, he gave the analogy. He says it's a fly and amplify. So he says that if it's a fly which is going around us, we don't pay any attention to it. But as soon as the same thing he is saying is that when Krishna comes, then he kind of amplifies the insignificance of a fly. He makes the devotees important, or he glorifies the devotees. He does practically everything in order to glorify us. Even if we see devotees around us, they come and tell us, oh, you did this so nicely, you did this so nicely. Actually, if we see, it's not on our own ability that we are able to do anything. It's the ability that's coming from Krishna. So the credit should go to Krishna. So it's because of him, whatever we are getting it's the presence of Krishna actually. Whether it's through ability or whether it's through Paramatma who's giving the intelligence, or through anything, even the soul for that matter, is a part of Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, Mataji, thank you all very much. It's always nice to hear from all of you.
Oh, yes. I need all of you, definitely. You know, this keeps my association. You know, when I'm unable to make it to the temple, or when, like, I've been so sick, just to have all this connection, it's so helpful. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it you know, keeps me so connected.
And we appreciate you too. And we appreciate you too, Govardhana Lila.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. We really need each other to continue in our devotion and services, in our path of bhakti.
Yeah.
We need each other's inspiration and friendship, so we can all move to Krishna slowly and steadily, but together.
Yes, Mataji, you all have husbands, but I don't even have a husband or my daughter, so I just have all of you. So yes, to add that.
Okay, well, if there are no further comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a comment?
No, I was just saying that, yeah, so we're similar, Mataji, in that we don't have husbands, but we do have Krishna, and we do have all these nice devotees to associate and to guide us.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, but still you have your daughter too, Mataji. I don't even have my daughter with me, like living with me. Even though she is.
Yeah, so you have more the opportunity to and the need to take his shelter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thanks.
You know, when you get despondent, like sometimes when I get despondent and I think, well, you know, I have no family left, blah, 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 everybody's dying, and this, you know, I start going into this very morbid thinking. I think of all of our spiritual masters and how they don't rely on anyone but Krishna. It's just Krishna. You know, they've left their families, they've left everything, and they've renounced, and they rely totally on Krishna. And I believe they're happier than I am. I'll tell you that. You know, because of their reliance upon Krishna, they experience much ecstasy, spiritual ecstasy, and you know, and they don't rely on anything material. And it's hard, I mean, for myself to think that could ever happen for me, but you never know. I mean, but in that lies our happiness, I think, in that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, to make Krishna our purpose and take his shelter. That's what it's all about.
Okay, well, if there are no further comments, I think we can end for today. And who's giving class tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday?
It's my turn. Lila
Okay.
Manjari.
Oh, good, Lila Manjari Mataji. You're quiet today. Okay. Srila Prabhupada.
To hear from everyone. It was a very, very beautiful class and a very nice discussion. Thank you all.
The discussion was nice. Yes. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.